Hey, good morning, friends. It is Monday morning, and we're reading from Romans 1, and we're only going to read a couple verses, two verses, in fact, 16 and 17. For I am not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God for salvation to everyone who believes, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. For in it the righteousness of God is revealed from faith for faith, as it is written, the righteous shall live by faith. Well, we have Martin Luther to blame, and I know we live in the shadow of the second highest statue of Luther in the world, which is at Lenoir-Rhyne. But Luther's the one we blame because Luther was raised in the medieval church and all of its systems of salvation, and Luther could never feel like he was doing enough or good enough or obedient enough. And then one day when he was preparing his lectures on Romans, he read this verse and it jumped out at him as the theme of the book. And all of a sudden Luther started preaching righteousness by faith, by grace through faith alone. And it has become so entwined with our understanding of the New Testament that it's very difficult to move away from Luther and see what the New Testament might actually say other than what Luther taught. Not that Luther was necessarily wrong, but he was kind of pig-headed about it. He made an announcement, this is how it is, and would not let anybody argue with him. Okay. So Luther says this is the theme of Romans. Paul doesn't really set it out that way. It's just kind of the end of this long paragraph about the gospel and how he's experienced this gospel as power, and he's not ashamed of that power. He'll come and he'll preach it. It may be the theme for what follows, but I'm just not completely convinced. So let's just leave that open. But certainly, righteousness comes to us by grace. Through Jesus' death and resurrection, we find that we are accepted and loved by God. The death is no longer an enemy, and we're set free from all kinds of things and from all kinds of sins. Now, Paul is going to go on and list in the rest of chapter 1 a long list of sins. And I think we're going to read through that pretty quickly because in chapter 2 he says, yeah, and you people all did those things, so don't feel good about yourselves either. You're just as bad as those sinners. But you were all saved by grace. And he has to work through some questions about the law for a couple of chapters before he gets to the really ringing part of Romans in chapters 5, 6, 7, and 8. But we can't skip ahead yet. But this is the theme. And from here until the end of Romans 8, what we get is, this outlining and unpacking of how this salvation by grace works. One of the watchwords of the Reformation, they're called, is salvation by grace through faith alone. Nothing you can do will earn you any points, any entrance into heaven, which is a kind of a slap at the medieval church because they pretty specifically taught that you had to earn the merit. Jesus had earned unlimited merit through his obedience and his death and resurrection, and you, through your obedience, could tap into that treasury of merit and become it gets credited to you, and you're saved. And so what you needed to do was to try real hard and do real good and all that. And Luther just rails against that sort of piety. It's pretty rare that we get the kind of piety that he was pointing to, because most people think, if you ask people on the street, are you a Christian? Are you saved? And they say something like, well, I hope I am. I hope so. I want to be. I try to be a good person. Christianity is not about being good, folks. It's about being faithful. And there's different. You can be a sinner and God still loves you. Or you can be, pious, holy jerk, and God still loves you, but it's not about being some sort of particular kind of person or doing a certain set of things. Salvation just comes. It's here. Jesus did it. Go grab it. It's free. And that's the message that Paul wants to get across. And so we're going to try to tease Paul away from Luther and contemporary Protestant, the sort of evangelicalism that's sort of in the water in America that we all kind of think of as normal Christianity. We're going to look at what Romans actually says, and some of it's not going to suit most of us, but we're just going to plow through it anyway. So, for today, hold on to the fact that you are saved by grace through faith alone, and keep your faith in Jesus Christ, no matter what comes to you today. Peace be with you.